Hi, and welcome back to our This Is How We Grow personal growth group. I am Dr. Christina Hibbert, or Christy, and I'm excited for our lesson today, which is on winter and gratitude. Here, where I live in Arizona, in the United States, it's the month of Thanksgiving, November, which is the month of gratitude, which is perfect for our theme today, and it's also turning into winter as we speak. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, but first, I want to say how wonderful it's been getting to know you all on the Facebook group and also through emails and replies. I appreciate all your comments and suggestions and the way that you've been reaching out and helping one another learn to grow. That's what this group is all about. It's about having that camaraderie, that support, getting new ideas, and really seeing that we're not alone as we choose to grow. That's been happening in my own personal group. I've seen some of the group members reach out and support each other through some really tough times, and it's been a real joy to see that. And I hope that you will continue to do that wherever you live, to either start your own group or do this group with friends or family members, or at least join up on our Facebook group if you can, or through emails if you have questions as we go. All right, let's get to our lesson. First, we talk about winter. And we've been through fall already in our lessons and talked about how fall is a time of change. Well, winter is a time of, let me ask you, what does winter seem like to you when you think of winter? I asked the people in my group, the women in my group, what they think of when they think of winter. And here are some of the things that they said. They said cold, isolating, peaceful, nothing growing, slowing down, hard, and stagnant. And for many of us, that's how winter, the real winter, season of winter, can feel. It can feel cold and isolating. The days are shorter. There's less sunlight. There's less chance to go outside if you live in a place like I live, and it's not even that bad where I live, but if it snows, you can be snowed in and socked in for days at a time. You don't go out and see people as much. And it can feel very isolating and can be tough for a lot of people. And the same goes with the season of growth, winter. It can be a time of needing to turn away from the things around us and sort of seek the growth that's happening within. I liked what one of those members said about nothing growing in winter. And it's true, if you look around outside in winter, everything seems dead. But the truth is that without winter, those seeds would not be prepared to bloom in the spring. So we need winters, even if they feel hard. And for a lot of us, winter means a time of trial, a time of depression or sadness or anxiety or worry or loss. But it doesn't always have to mean that. It can be a time of loss and a time of hardship, a time of retreat. So that's number one. There's actually three ways we can think of winter. And the first one is that winter can be a time of hardship. And in times of hardship, we need to retreat. When things get tough, when we have a significant loss or a pain or struggle or change in our life that comes through the fall, it can suddenly feel like, oh my gosh, it's so heavy to bear. And when we have those hardships, we need to retreat. We can't keep pushing forward and keep on doing the things that we thought we could be doing before when we're in time of crisis. And that's what winter is all about. Number one, it's a hardship. It's a time of retreat. We need that retreat in order to gear up for whatever's next. Number two, winter doesn't always have to be about hardship, though. Sometimes winter is about purposeful reflection. It's about knowing that I need to slow down, knowing that I've been doing too much, knowing that I need to change some things in my life, or I need to grow. And it's hard, and I know what I need to do, and it's going to take me some time and effort. So I need to retreat purposefully. I need to ponder what's going on in my life. I need to reflect on things in my life so that I can choose to grow when the springtime comes. And that's a second purpose of winter. There's hardships and purposeful reflection that we do. We choose winter on purpose because we know it's part of the growing process. And we'll all go through times in our lives when we choose to grow through winter, even if it's not easy. And that also goes with self-care. So that time of self-reflection can also be a time where we just need more self-care. We need to take better care of ourselves. And that's kind of a wintry time. We sort of go into ourselves. We're not out there with friends and family and career as much as we need to be. We need to sort of regroup. That's the second purpose of winter. The third purpose of winter is that winter is a time of preparation. So whether it's a time of hardship or whether it's a time of purposeful self-care and reflection, winter can also, and always is, a time of preparation. So again, going back to the flowers outside and the plants, they are not growing, but, or at least not that we can see, but they are preparing. They're getting ready under the soil. And think of all the work they have to do to just work their way up through the soil to then begin to bloom and sprout when the spring comes and when the warmer weather comes. That's what we do in the winter. We are preparing. We are being prepared to bloom when it's our turn, when it's our time. And we need to remember that. These lessons of winter are really important. If we can remember that winter might be a time of hardship, but it's also a time of retreat. Winter might be a time of purposeful self-reflection, but also a time of self-care. And that winter is always a time of preparation if we choose it to be. Then it will help us get through our winters with meaning and purpose. And that's what we need the most in times of winter. We need meaning. We need understanding. When we're going through hard things, when we're not feeling well, when we're feeling cold and isolated and withdrawn and like nothing's growing, we most need a grateful heart. And that's why gratitude is the tool we most need during our times of winter. So let's talk about gratitude. We most need a grateful heart in winter because we need to be able to see, like I said, the meaning, the purpose, and the blessings and the good things in our life that are still there. When we're not feeling well, when we're in a hard time, it's really easy to get very consumed by it. That becomes our whole world. I know, I've been through hard times like that, and it does. It becomes your whole world, and that's all you can see. And so I came up with this idea of gratitude in winter in 2008 when I was in my biggest winter time. It was shortly after I had inherited my nephews and had our baby, and we'd gone to 6 kids all of a sudden, and it was a few months later, and the shock was starting to wear off, and all of a sudden I was home with 6 kids and a newborn baby, and I didn't know what I was, having postpartum depression or grief or depression or just completely overwhelmed, anxiety. I mean, I didn't know what was going on. I just knew that I was not well, and everything was hitting me like a big pile, smothering me. And I started off that year setting my yearly theme, which I always do every year, and I chose gratitude. And I chose it because I wanted to be able to purposefully look for the good in my life, even though I could easily find the bad. I needed to look for the good. And that's what I did. And it helped me so much that I learned that through those hardest, darkest times, we most need to search for and seek and actively practice gratitude for all the good stuff that's still there, for all the blessings that we just can't readily see when we're in times of winter. And that's what gratitude in winter is all about. And that's how it helped me. So I want to know, what does gratitude do for you in your life? So when you are grateful, how do you feel inside? Think about that. Okay? Okay, there's a difference here. So think about first feeling grateful. So think of something you feel grateful for at a time you felt gratitude or you felt grateful for something. Think about that. And then try to feel what it feels like in your heart and in your body to feel grateful for something. So as many of you know, I published my first book this past week. And I am so grateful that that actually happened. It felt like it would never happen. It was so much work, 4 years of work, really. And a lot of emotional and physical effort, and a lot of effort from my family. And so, gosh, the gratitude I felt when I actually saw that book being published, when I held the book in my hand after this really long goal and this long winter and spring of trying to bloom this, make this book bloom into life, it was intense. And I felt so joyful and excited and blessed and humble and, just really, really deep down sort of thank you. I just was walking around for all these days feeling like thank you, thank you, thank you. And to me, when I feel that way, it is a wonderful feeling because I feel like all is right in the world. Everything is good. It's all well. And I don't know how you feel. That's just how I feel. So think about how you feel. Maybe write it down in your little journal if you have a little journal. Okay? Now, think about, though, times when you do not feel gratitude. times when you're not grateful. You're having a trial and you are really feeling ungrateful. You are just, you can't feel gratitude at all. So you don't feel that joy, that sense of, thank you walking around, okay? Now, I've had plenty of those times too. In fact, after the book was published this weekend, I hit my low because all of a sudden all the excitement was kind of coming to, well, not to a close, but it was, it peaked and it was going down, and I was beyond exhausted, and my family had all this stuff that I needed to deal with because I'd been so busy finishing the book, and I hit my low. And in those times, it starts to feel like every negative thing can come up. For me, anyway, it's like all my mind starts thinking all the negative things, and people don't like your book, and they don't like you, and your family's falling apart, and you were not busy, you were too busy to pay attention. Whatever it is, like I'm telling all this negative self-talk to me, and I'm sure you've had times like this too. This is just one example of one of mine. Okay, and in those moments, I don't feel grateful, and I don't feel thankful. So you can obviously relate to that, right? So think of a time like that. Now, imagine in that moment what it would be like if you were to practice gratitude. Okay, you don't feel grateful. You're not feeling grateful, but you're practicing being grateful. There's a difference. Practicing being grateful can help you feel grateful, and you might even feel grateful without even trying sometimes. But this is an active practice we're talking about in times of winter, that we are seeking the good. We are looking for it. So that's what I did this weekend. I purposefully started to go through all my blessings in my mind. I started to focus on the good things. And I didn't feel perfect or 100% well, but it did lift my spirits. It reminded me of the good. So in our darkest times, and even in that year of winter of my life, it's not like all of a sudden I was in summer because I was practicing gratitude, but it helped the wintry days feel so much more meaningful and so much easier to get through because I had the meaning and the purpose behind them. Does that make sense? I hope so. So think about that. This is a difference between feeling grateful and practicing gratitude. And we want both, but we're going to focus on practicing gratitude. And I'm going to give you some tools for how to do that. So if we look at the lessons of my book, which we've been following, there are a few. One of them is to yield control. Now, what I mean by yield control in times of winter is we fight it. Okay, so let's use depression as an example. That's a good example. We're depressed and we fight it. We don't want to feel depressed. We don't want to be in this depression place. So we do everything we can to not be depressed. And we fail to realize that, it's winter. It's like saying it's snowing outside and you're like, I don't care. I'm putting on my bikini. I'm going swimming. I do not want it to be winter out. It doesn't work that way, right? It just doesn't work that way. So instead, we accept what's happening. We yield control to what is happening outside. We yield control to God, your higher power, to whatever's happening in your life, and you stop trying to control every little bit because we just can't control that much in our life. All we really have control over is self-control, as I write in the book. We can control ourselves in our circumstances, but we don't always have control over our circumstances. And especially in times of winter, that's an important lesson and important in helping us to be grateful for where we are, because winter is necessary, even if it doesn't feel fun or easy, okay? Number 2, we can seek the sun. Now, this comes from a story when I used to live in Utah. When I was going to school there, it gets really snowy in the winter, and there's a thing called inversion, and the clouds would come and just sock in the whole valley. Otherwise, it's usually a beautiful place to live. But I would get really depressed on these dark days. It would be dark for days and weeks, and I couldn't handle it. And so I started to learn that if I would get in my car and drive south about 30 minutes outside of town, I'd eventually hit a patch of sun. And I would see the sun, and I'd pull off the side of the road, and I'd sit there and I'd look back at these big clouds looming in the past, behind me. And I would think, wow, the sun is really always there. It's just that we can't see it when we're socked in with clouds. And that's what winter is. It's being socked in with clouds. Metaphorically, it's feeling like that. But we can seek the sun. So whatever you can do to drive out, to seek the sun, literally sunlight also helps our mood and helps us in times of winter. Sitting in front of a window like I'm doing now, or with a light box. You can actually buy a light box. Light therapy helps us during times of winter, helps with seasonal affective disorder and with depression to lift our moods. But also figuratively, seeking the sun in doing things that help us to see the good in our life and help us to get out of the clouds and remember the sun is always there, even if the clouds are in our way causing trouble. Okay, that's number 2. Number 3 is to grieve. Grieve your losses, because most of the time when we're in times of winter, there is a loss associated with it. It might not be a death or a major illness or a divorce, or it might, but it might not. And if it's not, it could be that you're depressed and your loss is that you're not well. Or your time could be that you are seeking change, and the loss is that you're going to have to lose some of your old self and become someone new. So the important part of the winter with the losses is that we need to grieve our losses. Okay, that's part of getting through winter. And as we actively grieve our losses, we can feel more grateful for all that we have in our life. And we can see that we really are experiencing a loss and that we can get through. Okay, number 4 is to dream. Now, when I wrote this in the book, I was writing about real dreams, which are great. Learn from your dreams. Usually when you're in times of stress, if you're like me, you remember your dreams. Not everybody does, but when you in times of stress, you're going to have even more crazy dreams. And if you can try to learn from them, actually glean from your dreams what you can, and your dreams really do teach you things in your sleep and help you work out issues and problems. And so we can literally learn from our dreams, but also it's important for us to dream of the future in times of winter, to dream of what's possible beyond this. That's part of gratitude. Being grateful not just for what we have right now, but being grateful for the hope of the future and being grateful for the possibilities that we see out there. And we can focus on those things, and we can dream ourselves to sleep by seeing in our vision at night what we want in the future and believing in it. Number 5, feel. Feel. And this goes along with grieve, but what I say, feel stands for freely experience emotion with love. And I have a blog post on my website, drchristinahibbert.com. If you look it up, it's F-E-E-L, feel. A little bit more on this, but we need to feel what we're feeling. Again, accepting winter, yielding control, being where we are, feeling what we feel, grieving our losses. That's part of being grateful. We can be grateful for the opportunity to feel what we feel, even if it's not fun, even if it's pain, because we know that feeling is the way to healing, as I always say. We have to feel it to be healed, okay? And I think that was 5. I've lost track now. But number 6, we need to hope, okay? Hope for the future. And it's hard in winter to want to hope. We don't really feel hopeful. We don't know how to hope sometimes. But it's so important to try to help ourselves see that dream that I was talking about, to see the good that can be possible in the future, and to focus on hope because it lifts our heart. And gratitude, practicing being grateful, helps us to have hope in our heart, helps us to get to that place where we can feel hopeful, even if we don't feel hopeful right now. We practice hope along with gratitude. Then someday we will feel hopeful, just like we will feel grateful. Those are just a few of the lessons from This Is How We Grow that we can use. Then some other things that I want to share are on my website. I have 3 blog posts. One is called 10 Benefits of Practicing Gratitude. Did you know that practicing gratitude has been shown to be one of the best things you can do to increase happiness? Overall, practicing gratitude is number 1 when it comes to helping yourself feel better and be happier. So if we want to grow as far as becoming happier, more joyful, more full of light, then we have to practice gratitude. It is not an option if you want to be happy. And there are some ideas in there for how to practice gratitude, which is in another post called 10 Ways to Practice Gratitude Today. And they include things like starting a gratitude journal, which I know has been popular in the past. You write down just 3 to 5 things every single day that you're grateful for. There's actually an app that I just recently saw that you can get, a gratitude app. And it reminds you every day to type in your 3 things that you're grateful for. That's another way to do it, the new version of that. Also, what I do in the mornings is when I exercise in the morning right when I wake up. And when I go for my exercise, I'm a praying person, so I say a prayer and then I focus all on gratitude. All the things I'm grateful for, from my body, my legs being able to move me, my hands being able to work, and arms to hug my family. Sometimes it gets down, in my hardest times, it gets down to very, very, very small things that I usually don't even notice, like being able to walk and have health and be able to have a good hair day even. I mean, whatever it is, I think about those things and it just starts your day off right. It starts you focusing on the right things and looking for good things all day long. Also, I like to post things on my Facebook page that says, what are you grateful for today? Or what great thing, what's the best thing that you've seen today? Or the best thing you've heard today? Because it focuses people on looking for the good things and looking for the things they're grateful for and then sharing them with others, and it lifts us all up. So you can do something like that on social media. There's a lot of ways to practice gratitude. So check out that post, 10 ways to practice gratitude today. And then the final one is a post called How to Not Be Ungrateful. Because what I realize is that practicing gratitude is about becoming more grateful, but we also need to work on not being ungrateful. If you see what I mean, it's not always the same thing. Like, I can be very grateful for my family and feel that and really feel that, and yet I can act ungratefully by taking advantage of them or complaining to them or yelling at them. Okay, so that's acting ungratefully. Even though I feel grateful, my body, my mind, my soul is not acting gratefully. So that's an article about how to not be ungrateful, because there's a lot of things I think we all take advantage of. And I try to go through every once in a while. I'm not perfect at this, but I really do try to remind myself to go through and focus on the things I do not want to take for granted, the things that really matter, that I need to always, always remind myself to be grateful for and to feel grateful for, so that I don't end up being ungrateful. Okay, that's another tool. So hopefully between all of these tools and the chapters we discussed in the book, those ideas that we shared here today and these blog posts, hopefully between all these ideas, you can find one or two that works well for you. And what we want to do, of course, now is give you an assignment. So number one, I want you to think about what I asked you earlier. How does gratitude play a role in your life currently? So think about, how grateful do you feel on a regular basis, and are you practicing gratitude? Okay, so those are two different things again. How grateful do you feel on a regular basis? And number two, are you practicing gratitude actively or not? Okay, and if so, how's it going? And if not, would you like to? Hopefully you say yes. Okay, then that's number one, parts 1 and 2. Number 2, what would your life be like if you did actively practice gratitude? Go back to that visualization we did where you pictured something you really feel grateful for. And imagine if you could carry that feeling with you throughout your day and throughout your week and months. How would that impact your life? What kind of a difference could it make for you, for your relationships, for your work, for any part of your life? Okay, think about that and really feel it, so that it'll hopefully motivate you to want to implement this practice of gratitude we're talking about. And then, of course, number 3, let's start practicing gratitude. So pick one of the ways I talked about today in this video, or you can go to those blog posts and get ideas for how to practice gratitude, or you can make up your own. And please share with us what you're doing to practice gratitude, either through commenting on a blog post. I will write another post about this lesson soon, so you can comment on that. You can Facebook message us on our group, or also email, and let us know what you're doing to practice gratitude so that we can learn from you too, because I love that. Okay, so those are your tasks. And next month, we are going to talk about spring. It's going to be ironic because we're going to be in December, but it's also the month of holidays, and it's the holiday season. And to me, there's no better time than to talk about cheerfulness during the holiday season. And we'll talk about spring and cheerfulness next time. So until then, be sure to go visit my website, drchristinahibbert.com, to get all those blog posts I was talking about on gratitude and any other tools that you need. Hopefully you'll find some of them there. Also, I hope you'll check out my new book, This Is How We Grow. It's available on Amazon.com in Kindle and print versions. And I also hope you will continue to join us for our personal growth group and continue to stay connected with us so we can grow together. Thanks, everybody. Have a good month.